Welcome to Brobench videos. In this video, we're going to go through Workspace directory setting in Brobench. Brobench is a Chrome extension, so it means that it works in a sandbox environment when you open it up in your browser. So it doesn't have unfettered access to your local file system or other tabs and what have you, unless it is actually specifically provided. The capabilities provided by Chrome or Edge browser and what we requested as part of the manifest. Okay, so if it is not listed in the manifest or if that capability is not provided by the browser, then we cannot access it. So one such restriction is that the file system access. So the extensions cannot just go and read your files in your file system and for the right reasons, right? So think about an extension not having that particular restrictions. You install one benign looking extension and it starts reading all your file system contents to extract your photos and send it to some third party, right? It is scary. So it is a good thing the browsers think about that and provide these restrictions so that it can work. At the same time, as and when we implement more complicated feature-rich application, that application need access to some of these capabilities. So that is where the new modern browsers keep enhancing their capabilities to provide that required access. One such access is a file system access. So there is a new standard called file system directory, the file directory handle capability in the modern browsers, which Edge as well as a Chrome supports. They allow the user, to specify one particular path to an extension or a web page, for example, and then the web page will have access to access that particular files within that particular folder. It cannot access any other folder outside of that particular folder structure. It can access only within that particular folder. It will have full access to that particular folder, so it can read the file from that. It can write files into that. So Brobench makes use of that capability for a couple of reasons. Okay. So for many of the functionality, it doesn't need directory handle, but for some of the capability, it needs because of the volume of data that we are dealing with. For example, let's say we have a debug log module, and then one of the capability in the debug log module is a saved debug log, right? So as you know, the debug logs can be quite heavy. I mean, it can be up to 1 MB, 10 MB, up to 15 MB or 20 MB that we have seen. So keeping all of that in a standard session or local storage, which the default environment that the Brobench keeps all the settings in, it is not feasible because that's too much of data. So that is where this directory handle can be helpful so that we can write into the file system when you save that particular file. Okay. So if it is not the so you haven't provided the workspace directory, you cannot make use of those capabilities. For example, right now I don't have that workspace directory set, but if I go try to save it, the debug log, let's say, and then it will give an error. Okay, so workspace directory is not set. It is required to complete this operation. Set up in settings workspace directory or see help for more options. Okay, so how do you set it up? So you can go to the Brobench settings, and then here you can go to the workspace directory. As you can see that we give a little bit of information what this directory is used for, and then the path itself, and you can click on it to open the help that links to this particular video to give more details. Okay, to select a directory, click on select. So then you can select any of the file system directory in your system. Okay, however, we want to make sure that we clearly create a one folder specifically for Brobench so that you are clear what Brobench has access to in your system. Okay, so we recommend you create a folder called a Brobench workspace under your user folder, or the document folder, whatever the folder that you keep all the documents in, and select that particular folder. Okay, so when you do that, so that you know specifically that hey, Brobench has access to that particular directory, and then you can be cautious of not putting anything else which is not meant to be consumed or written by Brobench. Okay, so let's go and select the folder. So let's get select. Okay, so what happens when you select a folder like this? The Brobench doesn't know what is a folder that you have selected in the file system. So it could be anywhere. We just know that, hey, there is a folder that we have access to. We can write into that folder or create a subfolders within that folder and read from that particular folder. So we have access to only the relative path relative to that particular workspace directory. However, to just to show it on the UI, hey, this is where the workspace directory is, or to show the full path the next time you write something so that I can just copy and paste that URL instead of you worrying about, hey, or thinking about what is a workspace directory and then create that full path yourself. We ask you to enter this particular path. Okay. So you have to manually enter. You can just copy paste from your file explorer or what have you. So in this case, I selected this folder as the workspace directory and I have entered that here. Okay, so when you do that, so what Brobench does is that it actually writes a JSON file into that particular root of that particular selected directory. Okay, so the JSON looks like this. So if I go back here and you can see that. So let me bring up that particular directory, how that looks like. So that the JSON looks like this, the JSON that we write into that particular folder. Okay, so that indicates, hey, at what time you selected that directory and what is the path that you have entered. So make sure that this particular path matches the path within which that file is created. It means you have entered the correct directory. Otherwise, make sure you go back and you select one more time and enter the correct path. Okay, so this is very critical so that we can really connect these two things. And once you select it, it's great. Or if you want to clear, for example, let's say if you don't want to give access to Brobench for whatever the period or at all, you can come back and clear it. So when you clear, so we're gonna prompt, we're gonna give you a message to confirm that, indicate that, hey, we're just gonna remove the configuration, but we will not delete any of the content within that particular folder. Okay, so if you want, you can go back and you open the folder and clear the contents yourself, but the Brobench will not do by itself. It just creates the remove the configuration from our settings so that we don't have access to that particular folder. However, you can clear that yourself if you want to. So we can go ahead and clear, and now we know that there is no setting really selected. So let's go back and select one more time, and just to make sure that hey, we don't have access to that particular path. So let's say enter the path name. Okay, so now we have selected. It's great. Go back here. Now I can actually save the log file. Let's say this is with some condition. Okay, so when you select that, so that file is actually saved. So now if I go back and actually open your workspace, and that particular workspace, you can see that it is actually saved this particular file here, the debug log file, and you can actually use it for yourself. And the Brobench also would refer that anytime it needs to open that particular directory. Okay, so now if you go back and clear it, just to make sure that Brobench has not access to it. So if I try to, okay, so save another directory, okay, so with a different error, so it will give error again because workspace directory is not set. Okay. So this is about the Brobench workspace directory capability, and this is an optional capability. It enables some of the features in Brobench, so it is not mandatory that you have to set it. But if you want to make use of those capabilities, this is required, and you don't have to worry much about which capability that is required. As and when you use it, and if that is not set, you're gonna get that meaningful error message, and then after that you can set it if you would like. I hope you guys like this capability and make use of it. Thank you.